Hey there and welcome. It's good to have you with me today. Today we are going to be talking about iridology and how we see things like broken bones surgeries and traumas to the body that show up in the eyes. There's a lot of misconceptions out there, and there's a lot of myths that are being perpetrated. They're based on theories that have long since been disproved. And so today we are here to balance this out, to show you, to let you decide for yourself what you see and what you don't see. So, love it if you would take a moment to say hello in the chat box. I really appreciate having some back and forth conversation with the chat box. And so, you will find that the more you play with me in that chat box, the more you will get out of me today. We're going to go back to the root of the problem, if you will, and that is the owl story. Way, way back, there was a young boy in the 1800s. His name was Ignaz van Petzele. He was about 10 or 11 years old, and he lived in Hungary. He found, trapped an owl or a hawk or some kind of a bird of prey. Owl is the common one we hear. And what he noticed was that in that bird's eyes, there was in the process of coming into possession of this bird, he noticed that the bird had a broken appendage. I think it was a broken wing. And he also noticed that the bird had a black line in its eye. As this young boy nursed this bird of prey back to health, he said the black line disappeared. Now, this story raises all kinds of questions because it has never been replicated. We've never had a veterinarian or someone who specializes in birds of prey ever been able to document this. And you would think that with all of the bird sanctuaries that are there, bird rescue centers where birds who are injured or have been involved in an oil slick accident or whatever, you would think that with all of those kinds of sanctuaries that somebody somewhere would have noticed the same thing. Doesn't it make sense that it should have been replicated somewhere naturally or otherwise in all of these years? Well, it has not been replicated. So I wanted to ask the question, could this happen in humans? Could we see a tissue disruption in the iris if there was a physical trauma? So I conducted an experiment, not on purpose, mind you. This is my left iris, image taken 17th of March, 2017. And I want you specifically to look at this area. According to the Alan Tart-Jensen map, this is the area that the arm appears in. Now, I assure you, prior to March 2017, I'd never had a problem with my arm. It had always been perfectly healthy, wonderfully strong. I lifted weights, lifted children, I could use my arms just fine. But I want you to really pay attention to that area. We are going to look at many pictures of that area as well as a few other things. This is me, March 2019, waiting in the hospital. My wrist really doesn't usually look like this. I had slipped on some ice, landed hard on my wrist, was waiting for x-rays. And this is the x-ray. We've got one really good break here. And another break in here somewhere. I'm not sure where the second break was. I only know I had 2 surgeries. So there's got to be a break on each side. There's one under here and this big one. Now, my husband watched in the ER as the nurses and doctors tried to massage the bones into place. They knocked me out, thank goodness for heavy duty drugs. And he said there were people holding my shoulders down and others pulling on my arm and others massaging the wrist, trying to get things to go into place, but it wouldn't go. So we ended up in surgery. This is me like the day after surgery, nauseous as anything as those drugs are wearing off my fat little sausage fingers, and me really just doing my best to not throw up everything. I did have the presence of mind to take photos of my eyes just a couple of days later. Now, I did not have the presence of mind to double check all my camera settings. So the eye looks a different color because we've got some different camera settings. Okay, that's really important. Your f-stop, your shutter speed, those things will change the way the colors appear in the eye. And so we look at this arm area, there's no black line. This is 2 days after breaking 2 bones in my wrist and having surgery to install 2 metal plates. So I'm now semi-bionic, right? Now, wouldn't you think that if the bone had been broken, bones, multiple bones, 2 bones had been broken, that there should be a change in the eye at some point in time? So these were the x-rays taken that I got 2 weeks post-surgery when we were changing out of the surgical cast and putting on a full-on cast. Again, this is same day, just different angle. So we can still see, yep, I've got hardware. 2 plates, 12 screws, holding everything together in there. This is what my arm looks like, dried blood and everything. That's one of the incisions, healing really nicely at that 2-week mark. And this is the other incision up the side of my arm, healing really well again. Okay, so here we are, a little bit after that, again, looking at my eyes. Remember, I'm taking these photos with one arm in the cast. I've got my camera on a tripod. There will be some variability just because, you know, when you're doing it by yourself, it's maybe not quite as accurate, but we're still not seeing a black line, right? No black line in there. It looks just the same for shading, and fiber shape may change a little bit if the lighting is brighter and the pupil is smaller, or if it's dimmer and the pupil is larger. Let's look at the oldest pre-surgery. Then on March 19th, just 2 days after surgery. So it's this area right here, this area right here, a little bit of changes in the size of the pupil. But again, that's lighting. And right here, we still don't have that black line that Ignaz von Petschle said you would get, right? So that's interesting. Well, 2019 was not a great year. Well, actually, let me change that. It was a very learning year because I'd had that surgical cast off for, maybe a week when I fell down some stairs on Mother's Day and broke my olecranon on the same arm. They do not give frequent flyers points in the ER or in the OR. So I don't know why I needed to do this, but I broke this part of the elbow bone right off. You can see that massive, huge gap. Here I am. Oh, this is way back March 12th. I've got that photo in the wrong place. Sorry. But there I am post-surgery again. So in the ER, they took one x-ray and said, yep, there's no fixing that one without surgery. And so here I am with the surgical cast, doing my best to put on a stoic face. I learned that for broken arms, scrub tops are amazing. They have wide enough sleeves that you can get a casted arm through a sleeve. They've got lots of pockets to carry things that you can't carry with that arm that you shouldn't be using. And I did get photos of my eyes about a week and a half to 2 weeks later. And we look at that arm area. Wouldn't you think that 3 broken bones in the course of less than 3 months and 3 surgeries, 2 in one anesthetic and 1 under the other, wouldn't you think that something should show up here? Well, it didn't. Nothing. Nothing. So when we were changing that surgical cast, they wanted to make sure I hadn't disrupted anything in the fall. So they checked my wrist again. And here's my elbow with the wires going through the bones and anchored in with screws and, done up tight like a pulley, holding that bone together so that it could reattach. I still have all this hardware. It's probably the easiest way to identify me if if I die, just take an x-ray of my arm. And so I didn't remember to take eye photos quite so soon. But again, a little while later, took the eye photos, and the arm area looks just exactly the same. Just exactly the same. Pretty interesting that we did not see that change at all the way we anticipated we would see it. So now that you've met my arm, I'd like to introduce myself, and then we're going to look at a lot of other photos that, according to old theories, should have shown something different. We'll look at some that do, but it's not what you think. My name is Judith Cobb. I am a master herbalist, natural nutrition clinical practitioner, and I am also a level 3 certified iridology instructor through the IPA Association. IPA makes us update our credentials every 2 years, and they issue us new badges every 2 years. And so I've actually been a certified iridologist and a certified instructor with IPA, certified iridologist since 1993, certified instructor since 2017. In all the years, in the 40 plus years I've been a holistic health practitioner, I have written many books that I've self-published and self-distributed. They're all out of print except for my iridology textbook, which is available to my students. I've designed and taught many different kinds of classes. And that's a lot of what I'm drawing information from. Here's my creds with my nutrition certifications and my herbal certifications. All right, now let's look at some other eye photos. And as we look at this, what I want you to remember is the iris is genetic. It shows us our genetics. It doesn't show us transient things. But the sclera is dynamic. The sclera can change. Now, I don't have a before picture for this. This was a client who was 17 years old at the time. I had taken care of her since well before she was even a twinkle in her mommy and daddy's eyes, because I took care of her mom and dad, and so, for many, many years. And so I don't have photos of her eyes from before this. This is a classic trauma fork, also called a concussion sign. Her mom brought her to see me about 6 weeks after she had suffered a very serious concussion. And this is what we saw in her eye. Now, again, I don't have the before to say, did this appear after the injury? So I can't say for sure that it did, but I know it was there after the injury. I also know that she had been hit on the head with a very hard object from a student at school, thought it'd be funny to hit her over the head with a very hard, very heavy textbook, and dropped her on the floor, knocked her out. And there we have it. So I wish I had a before photo from 4 or 5 months before to see if this was there, but I don't. Here is another trauma fork. Again, I don't know. I don't have a before picture. This was one of the first iris images I got or eye photos I got of this client. So I don't know if she had this much before that. I don't know how this got there. So let's look at some other things. Here is an abdominal surgery, a hernia repair. Okay. So this is what the eye looks like before. And if we are looking at the abdomen, we could look anywhere down in here. There's a lot of abdominal stuff in the lower part of the eye. This was taken within about 10 days after the surgery. Different camera. I'm acknowledging that variable here. Different light, same camera, different lighting source. Okay. And the light source will change things. This newer one uses less intense light. The pupil is larger. But also after a surgery, your adrenaline is a little high, and that can also make the pupil be larger. So as we look at this, we look at down here, I don't see any black lines. Black lines radiating outward, like what Ignaz van Petzele said there should be. This young man, he was in his early 20s, had a really serious hernia. And where we live, if it's not a life-threatening thing, you wait forever, right? And so he had been told that from the time they diagnosed the hernia, that it would be 9 months until he saw a surgeon, and then at least another 9 months till they could get him onto the operating room schedule. We decided to take him out of town. We found a doctor in a town about 2 hours away who could get him in literally within a few weeks. And that's exactly what happened, because this was affecting him to such a point where he could no longer work. He used to work in a big box hardware store, moving, and he was in the appliance department. So he was constantly setting up displays of large appliances, and he could not do that with this hernia. And so we look down here anywhere in the lower abdomen for anything that suggests any kind of a major trauma to that area. And you'll see that every fiber is exactly in the same place, slightly wavier for the larger pupil, but exactly in the same place. There's no black line in the body of the iris to say that there has been a trauma, either a tissue split to create the hernia or a tissue split in the iris again to show that layers of skin and muscle had been invaded to do the repair. This is another client of mine. This photo was taken 3 years prior to him being diagnosed with colon cancer. And so 2017, we're looking right down in here. 2018, 2 years prior to colon cancer, we're still not seeing any differences in anything here. This is his left iris, and it was the descending colon into the upper rectum in here where he would have had the cancer. And we don't see anything there. So let's look 6 weeks post-surgery. So these are taken with the same day, but different, same camera and different lighting, just to show you how lighting affects an image. We still don't see anything. Still don't see anything down here that says he had a major surgery, removing the lower 1/3 of his bowel. Nothing that says he had surgery. I put this up specifically because a lot of people will post before and after photos, and they would post the one on the right first, the one on the left second, and say, I did a major cleanse. Look at the difference in the eye color. I've cleared up my eyes. When in fact, it's simply a different light source that alters how the color appears. All right, so really important to consider that before and after pictures, you've got to understand the tech that was used to generate them. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? We don't want to be ascribing to iridology things that we cannot ascribe to iridology. So important. So with this, we've got more eyes to look at. Just wanted to share with you some details of the dynamic iridology assessment system for health professionals. This is a course to teach you iridology and to teach you how to integrate iridology. The only prerequisite you need is you have to have a college level anatomy and physiology course under your belt with a grade of over 80%. And you've got to be able to have proof of that, because when you go to certify with IPA, they're going to want to see it. So this course is to teach iridology, to teach you how to use it in a clinical practice so that you can assess your client's needs quickly and create their protocols, create their homework very quickly and very easily. Right? This is about giving you depth of information, helping you to build rapport, but also helping you to use your time very efficiently so that you're not doing what so many health professionals do, where they see the client, go off for a couple of hours and create a protocol, and then bring it back and deliver it to the client. They're not getting paid for those extra hours of protocol creation. So in this course, we do teach the iris markers. We teach how they work together. We teach what questions the markers want you to ask to get the deeper information you need to create the programs your client needs. The goal, again, is to teach you constitutional iridology and how to use it confidently so that you can easily integrate what you already know about nutrition and herbology to confidently create doable client programs in your paid client sessions. So again, just a, and I'm going to address Chana's question in just a minute. Our next course is actually starting tomorrow. So if you have that college level anatomy and physiology and you want to learn iridology, then use this link, tinyurl.com/dynamic-iridology-insight, and let's have a conversation, a private conversation over Zoom. So, question is, Fully Raw Christina has a video saying being vegan for several years has changed her eye color brown to more blue and got these off Google. And you're right, she's got that. Note that the cameras used are not the same. Note that the lighting is very different. If I recall, her original photo is a school photo in which the colors are all, the lighting is always very warm and it will always make the eyes appear more brown, right? And so we need to be very, very careful with things like that. That technology, the camera, the source of light, the brand of the camera, the settings the camera is on, they all make a difference. Back in the old days, when we used to actually shoot either slides, well, usually we were shooting prints, we were shooting film to create prints. We knew Kodak was a reddish one. We knew Fuji would print up more green. That was the film. And then the brand of paper the developers were using also altered the output. We see the same with digital. I have my camera with two different lights, two different lighting setups. They produce different results. I have 4 different computer monitors I can use, and every one of them, I can put the same image on all 4 of them, and the colors look different. So tech is huge. Tech is huge. One of my students who's actually in the course right now, after her 3rd lesson, she said this: the class last night was so good. I love the way you teach with detail and simplicity and how you build upon what we learned previously. It helps it to sink in better. I'm really happy I found you and your class. You can use me as a testimony. Love, Nicole. Love that. This was Natalie Laureate. She's a naturopath in France, and she was previously certified as an iridologist in 2018. What she did not feel she had learned in that course that she did in 2018 was how to use iridology. She learned markings, but not application, not how the markings work together. And so she did my course and completed it in 2021. I'm so happy. My first English certification, English was her 2nd language. She was enrolled in English classes as she was taking my class. This was so a pleasure to have you as a teacher. Thank you. It was so a pleasure to follow the program every week. You are a great teacher. Have a nice day. Fantastic. Joyce Lee, an aromatherapist, chartered herbalist, certified nutrition coach. I took an iridology course from another school a few years ago, but I was left feeling inadequately trained and with no confidence in the material or my abilities to perform accurate assessments. Upon completion of Judith's course, I feel very confident in my abilities and excited to offer iridology services to my clients. This course is an incredible value. I highly recommend it. And once again, the contact information. And here we have Sharon Bimrose. So just, and actually this is the last slide, which is, I thought I had more than this today. Sharon was a naturopath in Australia. I'd already taken iridology as a part of my studies as a naturopath. However, Judith's course, Confident Nutritionist Dynamic Iridology, we just changed the name a few years ago, surpassed my previous training in structure, content, delivery, documentation, and support. So her iridology training from her naturopathic school was not as strong as the training I gave her. That's interesting. Judith taught in a manner that I could understand visually and auditory. Dynamic iridology has was well delivered, inspiring and motivating, giving me the much needed structure to the knowledge I already had learned over the years. Dynamic Iridology also provided me with the most up-to-date iridology information, along with the added bonus of Judith's extensive experience of holistic health. In absolute appreciation, Judith, I thank you for making me a better iridologist. Love that. So again, just love to encourage you. If what you've seen today intrigues you, if I've challenged some beliefs that you've seen out there, some things you've seen out, then you're going, huh? And you're thinking you really want to dive deep from a clinical perspective, not from a salesy perspective, but a clinical perspective. And you've got that A&P, let's have a chat. Let's have you go ahead and book a time to chat with me, to talk about the course, to talk about your goals, to see if this course is a good fit for you. If it is a good fit, I will invite you to enroll. If it's not a good fit for you right now, I will certainly coach you in a direction that I think is more supportive of what you are wanting to accomplish. So with that, thank you so much for being with me today. I truly appreciate it, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Bye for now.